Hare Krishna. Dhanyavad. I'm not sure. I'm not able to see many people. Okay. Hari Bol. Welcome to Bangalore. And very, very grateful and very honored to be introducing you to this audience here in Bangalore. Of course, you do not need an introduction. Meri awaaz hi pehchan hai. Like that. So everybody knows you. But still, I'll just keep it very short anyways. So Prabhuji, they are very senior disciples of Guru Maharaj. Prabhuji joined in Radha Gopinath Mandir, Chowpatty in the early 90s. And he served Guru Maharaj personally. Also, he was Maharaj's secretary for a couple of years. He's involved in college preaching with Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, who was then Devamrita Prabhu, and involved with many, many of the temple programs. Before then, he moved on to Pune. And of course, we know globally he's much loved by all devotees for his beautiful, beautiful singing. Thank you so much for taking this time, and we are hoping you can share Guru Maharaj's heart with us today. And then, of course, for me, the highlight is that in '98, Prabhuji and Siddheshwari got married. So for like 22 years, it's like family. So thank you for that. And Siddheshwari, yeah, we were friends, and we were best friends, and she is my Path Pradarshak Guru. She took me to this path, and she has kept me there also. Like many, many times, I just always remember, like, I was not determined. I'm not. But I remember that many, many times in the earlier days, like Siddheshwari would say, okay, I'm giving up drinking tea. So I said, how is it this is possible? We cannot just give up drinking. At home, everybody drinks. They're not going to accept whatever we do. She would say, I don't know, I'm giving up. So then I would be motivated. I would say, okay, I'll also give up. So gradually what I would do is I will keep my tea till it becomes cold and then gradually go and pour it down the sink. So because of her, I got that word, and gradually, slowly my mother realized she's not drinking tea. So then everybody accepted, but I was not, I don't have the determination. So one day she told me, it was a Friday or Saturday. She said, on Monday, I'm going to stop eating onion garlic. And I'll be happy if you also do that. She was my best friend. I wanted to please her. But I thought, now, if I stop eating, I told her, see, for you, your mother will cook without onion garlic. I will starve. But my mother will not cook for me without onion garlic. She said, I don't know, I'm going to do it. And if you want, you can also try, whatever. So I thought, this is very difficult. So I just made an announcement. Everybody was sitting at home. And I just said, from Monday, I'm not going to eat onion garlic. Nobody even looked at me. So my parents, my brother and my sister who were younger to me, nobody even looked at me. And I thought, okay, that's it. From Monday, I have to starve. I have to go out and search for something to eat. The whole thought was there only. And then Monday morning when I was ready to go to college, and my mother said, please take lunch. So I said, no, but I'm not going to eat onion garlic. She said, I have not put onion garlic. It was just so simple, but I would have never taken that first step if she was not pushing me always. So thank you for that. And we first became friends when it was my 16th birthday when we were moving into that house. We were neighbors. We were next door neighbors. So we were both 16 at that time. And today, after so many years, I'm very, very grateful to have both of you in my life. Like they say that we have a friend in every stage of life, but then we are very fortunate if you have the same friend in every stage. Thank you so much, both of you. I'm very grateful. Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Can you all hear us?
Yes.
Everybody can hear us?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So first of all, let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the wonderful God brothers and God sisters who are present here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you very much, Mahalakshmi, for those loving words. Your presence in our life has always been such a sweet blessing. We are so fortunate to have you as our little sister. And of course, all the devotees of Bangalore, I miss you all. I have been with all of you, and I'm praying to Krishna that he may give me and all of us an opportunity to come back in your association personally also.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Thank you very much. So now, without any further ado, we'll start the program today. Do I have to sing any bhajan? I think Sudhir Gopal Babu's daughter sang a beautiful song already. So
You can start.
So we'll just start with the program, then I think, Maharaj, right? Hare Krishna. So we'll first offer prayers to our beloved Guru Maharaj. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Param Pujya Radhanath Swami Maharaj ki. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Kapila has explained a very important point. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmanah kavayo vidu. Sa eva sadhu shokrito mokshadwaram apavritam. He is explaining that for those who have taken birth in this material world, who are under the modes of material nature, one of the greatest impediments in spiritual life is material attachment. Attachment to family, attachment to wife, children, attachment to home, property, name, fame. These are strong attachments. The same attachment, if it is dovetailed towards a pure devotee, then that opens the doors for liberation. So I would like to begin today's discussion on the glories of our divine spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, with this prayer in my heart that let us all strive to develop the strong attachment towards his wonderful personality, towards his qualities, towards the great example that he has set, towards the love that he keeps showering upon all of us. Kapila Dev has said it is ajaram pasham. It is the deadly noose of a serpent. It's very powerful. So we require a nectarian personality, an Amrit-like personality to pull us out of that noose and take us back home, back to Krishna. For devotees, all of us are in the Grahastha ashram. It is very important that we organize such meetings for those who have had association, direct or indirect association of their spiritual master. It is their prime duty to share their realizations, to share the love that they have personally received with all the younger God brothers and God sisters and everyone who is aspiring to take shelter at the lotus feet of our Gurudev. Just so that the teachings that our spiritual master is trying to spread in the human society can actually be also felt, and the sweetness of Krishna consciousness can also be experienced. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, a dear god brother of our Guru Maharaj, His Grace Soma Prabhu, he was with us in Radha Gopinath temple a few years ago. And he was recalling his first visit to New Vrindavan. And he explained that I was a new bhakta. I had come from Boston, from a big city. And I had been told to go to New Vrindavan and render some service there. And I had heard a lot about New Vrindavan. If anyone of you have heard about the New Vrindavan days, how austere and how difficult it was. So he was a little nervous, but he was explaining that 4 decades later, I have still not forgotten the way one brahmachari had showered so much of love and care upon me. And who was that brahmachari? None other than our beloved Guru Maharaj, Radhanath Brahmachari. He was recalling the way Maharaj was treating him like a little baby. Maharaj was saying, you have come from a big city, things are not very convenient here. So I want to make sure. So every day Maharaj would make sure that he had prasadam on time, he had a good place to rest, and he was taken care of. And he could not forget that. This is Krishna consciousness. And in those days, Radhanath Maharaj was a completely unassuming personality. No one even knew who was Radhanath Brahmachari. So this is what he has taught us from his example, from his teachings, from his life, from his words. And this is what we all should also try to very deeply imbibe in our lives, that the essence of Radhanath Swami's heart is love and affection. One time, one devotee went to Radhanath Maharaj and said, Maharaj, do you have a personal instruction for me? Maharaj looked into his eyes and in 2 words, he gave the personal instruction. He said, love devotees. That's all. If you love devotees, you are personally serving me. So would like to thank the organizers also for...
Yes, I would like to thank Kumari Daya Mataji and Mahalakshmi Mataji for inviting us here. Although we are not qualified, but you have given us the opportunity to glorify our dear Gurudev. So as Prabhu was saying about Soma Prabhu, how Maharaj took care of him. In those days, even though he was a brahmachari, he took such nice care. So I was just remembering how in New Vrindavan, even when he was a world acharya, now, once a group of devotees from Chicago were arriving in New Vrindavan. And they were just new aspiring devotees. They had just started coming. They were not any Prabhupada disciples or any person we would give so much importance to. We would go ahead and then. But they were coming and he was informed about it. So he saw me and he told me, do you know that this group of devotees is coming? And I said, yes, Maharaj. He said, do you have arrangements of their stay and prasadam? Do you know if everything is arranged? So I said, Maharaj, the breakfast prasadam was already over, and now they're preparing a fresh batch of prasadam for these people. I said, what about their stay? And I said, I named the person who was taking care of their stay. So when they arrived, Maharaj was not there at that time. But when they were sitting in the hall, Maharaj came there, and then immediately he asked me, have they had their prasad? So I said, Maharaj, offering is taking place and they will just have. Oh, Maharaj, as if feeling their anxiety, he was like, oh, they have come for such a long travel and they have driven and they must be really tired. Then he told me to go and check if the offering was done. So I went inside quickly and said offering was done. So then we made everybody sit, and he sat through the whole thing to make sure everybody was fed nicely, everybody was taken care of. And so this shows his love, his attention to details. He always says that attention to details is a sign of love. So he was expressing this in his actions. Also, when in Seattle, once Mother Janki was coming to see him. So at that time, he was informed that she's coming, and we both were assisting Maharaj in services at that time. So Maharaj came and he told us how she's on a wheelchair, unable to walk properly. So her bed should be arranged on the ground floor. And then he said that ask about her diet. She's on a diet, cook according to her diet, make sure that she's getting her medicines properly, and make sure that you are with her at all times to see that whatever she needs. And he had given all detailed instructions. Somebody should go ahead and welcome her on the road. All these instructions he had given to myself and Prabhu and couple others who were assisting. And so we had all started arranging things. So when we started arranging Mother Janki's bed, Maharaj came from upstairs, and when he saw we were arranging, we were just about to start doing things. He immediately came very enthusiastically and he started doing all the bed sheet, and we felt like, we are unable to do. And we started trying to help, and he was so fast. He started quickly tucking the bed sheet inside and from all sides, and then quickly asked for where the garland is. And then as soon as they called that she's 5 minutes away, he went to the road and he stood there to welcome her. And when she came, along with her helper, he assisted her on her wheelchair, and then he personally started taking her around on the wheelchair. They brought her in, then all around the house. It was a big house. He was taking her everywhere. He took her to the altar to take darshan. Then he took her where and the prasadam was. Then when she sat down somewhere on a sofa, Maharaj immediately sat down underneath, down near her feet. So she felt so embarrassed. She said, "No, Maharaj, please sit up." But that was his mood, that I am the servant, no matter who it is. That is his mood, that, service is the way you express your love.
Yeah. So I've been told we should share some of our personal exchanges also. So we will surely share, and as some other pastimes come to my heart, I will keep bringing them in also. As Siddheshwari was pointing about Maharaj's this personal touch that he always has when it comes to serving devotees. One time Naveen and Neeraj Prabhu was sharing a realization that he was in Mayapur and he wanted to talk to Radhanath Maharaj. He wanted to ask a question. He had heard so much about Maharaj that Maharaj is such an expert. He's so systematic when it comes to doing anything in Krishna consciousness. Everything is so perfect, and so many devotees all over the world, and especially in Chowpatty and such scholarly devotees from IIT have joined, and there are so many Vaishnavas and so many senior personalities who are so much dedicated to Radhanath Maharaj. So he just wanted to ask a question. How do you do it, Maharaj? What is your strategy? So he was sitting, and one person was going to come and see Maharaj, and he met. There was a quick meeting, and Maharaj, then he left. So Navedananda Prabhu, he asked a question. So Maharaj, what is your strategy for this devotee? So Maharaj looked at him and said, strategies are for projects. When it comes to devotees, I only deal from my heart. So this is how actually he does. And there have been many, many beautiful exchanges that I still am not able to understand how I was chosen to be in that particular association, close association of such a magnanimous personality. So I would like to share one beautiful pastime with Maharaj. He had given a wonderful class, his Sunday program had finished, and this was many times used to happen that when Maharaj would finish a long Sunday evening program, and then after having his prasadam and everything, he would come and sit with the brahmacharis in the backside in the ashram. It was a very informal setup, just like Krishna would come and just sit with his friends wherever they found a place. So Maharaj jump on the lockers, and we would all surround him. Some would be sitting, some would be just standing, and Maharaj was just so beautifully relaxing on the locker. And someone had donated some chikkus, so Maharaj told them cut the chikkus and get them ready after the program. Then he was distributing chikkus to all the brahmacharis. It was very sweet, of course, the chikku itself, but when you receive it from Radhanath Maharaj's hands, it is the chikku from Golok Vrindavan. So he was distributing and everyone was enjoying. And then Maharaj said something very profound. He said, you have the best philosophy, you have the best association, and you have the greatest shelter. The best philosophy, undoubtedly, what Prabhupada has given us, Krishna consciousness is the best. The best association that Maharaj has arranged for all of us, what can be compared to that? And the greatest shelter of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath that he has given us. And then Maharaj paused and he made a very profound statement. He said, be grateful and you will realize this. And we all really were so touched by that statement, that how important it is to develop this attitude of gratitude. We may have so many gifts around us in Krishna consciousness, but still if we are not feeling anything, if we are not really understanding the glory and the greatness of it, we should try to introspect and understand that this is probably why this attitude of gratitude is probably not enough in my heart. And Maharaj, in most of his talks, in most of his exchanges, he has taught us. We all have read in the Journey Home book how his mother, Idle Slevin, right from a very childhood, she would always say that don't look at the value of what they have given, but see the thought behind it and express your gratitude. Have you said thank you? So this was how Maharaj was brought up, these beautiful qualities of gratitude and love. How much love he would shower upon the brahmacharis. I remember once he was leaving, and those were the most difficult days for us when Maharaj would be going to America for 6 months and we didn't have his personal association. So I was sitting in his room and I was packing up his things. And Maharaj, he came quickly, he had gone to the shower, he came back, and he would call me Swarup, like that. He would many times just, with love, he would call me, why are you sad? And I was obviously, not saying much. So he's changing. He's quickly changing there. I'm in his room. And he took a towel and he removed his dhoti and he threw it on my face like this. And then he started laughing. He said that, you can have this. And I was in tears. I was so happy that he knew that his son was sad. His son was really feeling so emotional that the father was leaving. So just wanted to make me happy. There's one more beautiful incident that was shared by another God brother, Siddheshwari Prabhu, I think his name was. He's writing in his memoirs that once Maharaj was leaving for Mayapur, and as Maharaj leaves the temple, you can see there are hundreds of devotees who are there to bid him farewell. And every time he goes, every time he comes, there are hundreds of devotees who come and wish him. So he was also standing somewhere in the corner. And Maharaj was looking at everybody, he was smiling. And then he looked at him and he called him in the front. He said, come. And he came. And then Maharaj held his hand and said, it will be really difficult for me to give my Srimad Bhagavatam class without you sitting in front of me. And this devotee was literally in tears. And he thought in his heart, how much more sweet can a leader be? So many hundreds of devotees here. I am just an insignificant soul. But he has noticed that I always sit in front. This was what he really liked about that Vaishnav, that he always sat in front and would eagerly laugh and eagerly, hear his classes. So just see the personal reciprocation. So many are there. Now ask Siddheshwari also to share some sweet memories.
There are so many examples where we have seen that Maharaj definitely knows the heart of his disciples. Like when we were initiated, we girls were there from Pune and we had gone to Bombay for a program, and Maharaj was talking to one Mataji, and we were just newly initiated, and we were looking at this Mataji and we were discussing amongst ourselves that, oh, so fortunate, Maharaj knows her so well. We don't know if he actually knows us, any of us, and especially after our initiation. So we were 4 of us, and then after that Mataji finished her conversation, she left, and then Maharaj told us to come inside, and we went in, and then he asked us some question, and then he said, what do you feel? So he asked one of the girls, we were girls at that time, he said, so Janki, what do you feel? So others were thinking, at least he knows Janki's name. Then he said to the next person, so Niladri, what do you feel? And then she answered something. Then he looked at me, he said, so Siddheshwari, what do you feel? So I said something. And then Mahalakshmi was thinking, at least he knows all of them, maybe he doesn't remember me. And then he says, so Mahalakshmi, what do you feel? So it was like we were newly initiated and we were thinking that he has initiated so many people, but he probably doesn't remember the name or doesn't know who they are. And so he was reading our hearts. Another example is that when he came to Dubai, one day I got the opportunity to cook for him. And so I was in the kitchen arranging everything for his prasad. And then he was outside in the hall. So there, after he had his prasad, I was taking all the remnants inside, all the plates and everything. So I was near the kitchen door. So Maharaj could not see me. So the Mataji who was the host, she said, Maharaj, your disciple Siddheshwari has cooked today for you. So Maharaj said, I know. And he had not seen me in this whole exchange where I was serving and all. He was in another side and he had not seen me arranging things. And another very, very beautiful pastime that is very dear to my heart, I would like to share with you. This happened, I think, way back in 94 or 95. At that time, we were very fortunate that Maharaj used to give us a lot of time to share our thoughts, and we were able to uh, express so many things to him. Quite many foolish things also we expressed, but he was very tolerant and patient with us. So one such time I told him, Maharaj, I want to speak to you. So he said, I am just finishing something. You go and wait in my room. So I went there, and it's what his room presently is. There was a big terrace outside at that time, and his shoes were kept outside his room. So I kept looking at the shoes and I thought, should I touch or should I not touch? So I looked everywhere and saw nobody was watching. Of course, Radha Gopinath were watching, but then personally, physically, nobody was there. So I quickly touched the shoes. I wiped it with my sari and collected the dust, poured on my head, tried to sprinkle some in my sari, tie a knot, whatever I could do. And then I kept them where they were. I went and sat inside the room. And after some time he came, and then I was telling him all the silly things about things happening in my life and what I think and this, and he was patiently listening. Then I was grumbling a little also, and I said that, Maharaj, it is not fair that Prabhujis get so much of your close association and Matajis don't. So at that time in Radha Gopinath, towards the front, Prabhujis used to be towards the front in the Kirtan and all Matajis used to be towards the back side. So many times when Maharaj would be dancing, all the Prabhujis would cover him up and Matajis could not see anything at all. So we used to feel so bad, this is unfair, why we are not getting any of this. And then many times people Prabhujis used to easily go and touch his feet. And we used to think, oh, so fortunate. So I told him all that. I said, they can touch your feet and they receive your embrace and they get to see you in dancing, kirtan, and we don't get anything. And we don't even get the dust of your lotus feet. So he became quiet and he kept looking straight in my eyes. For seemed like years, he was just watching me for a long, long time, and I wasn't sure what I had said, what my offense was. And then he said, are you sure Matajis don't get the dust? And then he laughed, like, how he laughs. He went up and down laughing. And I said, Maharaj, sometimes by some trickery or some, we have to use some brains to get it somehow or the other. And again, he started laughing. So this pastime is very dear to my heart, revealing to me at that time that spiritual master knows my heart. I cannot trick him in any way or, so.
Talking about his remembrance, his memory, there's a very sweet exchange with my dear mother-in-law, Siddheshwari's mother, Vijayalakshmi. She's a very sweet, simple-hearted lady, and every time she would meet Maharaj, she would say, Maharaj, I'm Siddheshwari's mother. Like she had said that.
Not her, actually. Various people took her to introduce to Maharaj. Because people like to talk to Maharaj, so they'll take somebody to introduce. So 4 or 5 people took him to Maharaj and said, Maharaj, she's Siddheshwari's mother. Then next time somebody else takes Maharaj, she's Siddheshwari's mother. So happened like 4 or 5 times like that.
So once she came, she was folding hands and she was saying, so Maharaj said, I know you are Siddheshwari's mother. That was his very sweet
And even when he met me in US, and he said, I know your mother. They have introduced me to her so many times, so I know who your mother is.
Talking about taking dust from Maharaj's lotus feet. I remember one incident, and I really miss those days. Maharaj, I was sitting and I was arranging, I used to type his letters, and I was just making sure that all the letters that he had asked me to type and they were all in order. And I was just going through them, and I was sitting with on my knees like this, knees folded, and my feet were visible in the backside. He came inside the room, and he just, like a little mischievous boy, he just jumped to my feet and he touched like this, and Hari Hari, like that he shouted. Now, obviously, I'm sure any one of you, if you happen to be in that situation, what you would do. I thought this is the golden opportunity of my life. I just left everything. I grabbed his feet and I rubbed my head on his feet like this. And he was like, Maharaj was laughing like this, like anything. And then when I got up, like when I was so happy. And I was of course, I was very, very embarrassed that he did something like that. But I was so happy to see the shower. And he just tucked me to his thighs and he was saying, Swarup, I love you. And then he started going through the letters. And there was a letter that he had written to Vishwarup Prabhu, and he was so meticulous. He could not accept even a small mistake. He wanted everything perfect. So if I had forgotten to put a full stop or something, he would just throw the letter on me. Where's the full stop? Like that. And he would laugh. So there was a letter to Vishwarup Prabhu, and somehow I accidentally typed Vizwarup, like V-I-Z. So he's saying, Vizwarup, you are from Russia? Are you from Russia? He started laughing. So what I'm trying to tell you is that he is such a great personality, is so much absorbed in Krishna all the time. But these little details of love, see, what is love? Love is not a very great thing, but love is a million small things. And this we see in Radhanath Maharaj so much. Every time we meet him, even if it is a little boy, a little small boy meeting him, he will leave that loving touch on the heart. Once, this is also a very funny, loving exchange. We were driving from Lonavala back to Radha Gopinath temple. And I had mentioned in the Ghats, because I was from a town called Khopoli, which is midway Pune and Mumbai. So we were in the Ghats, and I mentioned, Maharaj, that is my hometown. So Maharaj said, really? Everybody, please fold your hands. This is Swarup Damodar's birthplace. And he was like, he wanted to embarrass me to the core. He said, this is the place where he performed all his Bal Leelas. Then he performed all his Poganda Leelas also. And we will not discuss about his Kishore Leelas here. And he was laughing like anything. And then since he was in such a happy mood, I thought, let me grab the opportunity and ask him if he would want to visit my house, because we are just a few minutes away. So Maharaj looked at his watch and he said, okay, let's go to Swarup Damodar's house. All of a sudden, the drivers were told that, okay, we were in Maharaj's car, so our car moved and the rest of the cars kept going ahead. And then Maharaj, out of such love and affection, he came to my house And my brother was there, older brother was there, my mother was there. They were all so happy. It was probably the most amazing surprise of their lives that Radhanath Maharaj, in those days we didn't have cell phones or anything to inform that Radhanath Maharaj is coming. It was like we rang the bell and Radhanath Maharaj is on the door. And they were in tears. And Maharaj came inside. He sat in the altar. We had a little altar room. And he played the mridanga and he sang beautifully the Narsimha Arti. So, I mean, those days, the golden days, such beautiful time we had with Maharaj. Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, how Prabhu was saying that how he can even touch the heart of a little child. We were remembering how when our daughter Lalita, she was, I think, 4 years old, and 4 or 6 years old. And when we had visited GV, and then we were talking about Maharaj and that Maharaj is leaving. And she was feeling so sad. Why is Maharaj leaving? I would like him to stay here some longer. I said, Maharaj has important duties to take care of and preaching activities to do, so he has to travel. So her little brain could not understand all that. And then Maharaj came in the temple to offer his pranams before leaving for Bombay. And Maharaj went towards Radha Vrindavan Bihariji, and then he was coming back, and we were towards the Mataji's side. So I was thinking we'll just pay our obeisances from there and not go near him. He's in a rush to go. And suddenly Lalita, she started running towards Maharaj, and I could not stop her. What got into this girl? And she went and tightly went and hugged Maharaj. And Maharaj, I love you, I'll miss you. And Maharaj also hugged her back and he said, I also love you, I'll also miss you. So little exchange. And then this year, last year, I think at the time of New Year, the kids, Lalita and Girdhari, they had prepared a New Year card for Maharaj. So when they were in the Prasadam area in GV, Maharaj came there and he was meeting all the people, and Lalita was so impatient that when can I give him the card and when can I give him the card? So finally, after a long wait, Maharaj came this side. So immediately she stood up. Maharaj, I want to show you something. So Maharaj said yes. And then she took out this New Year card and gave him. They had painted things in there and written things. And he was very carefully going through it and reading everything. And he said, that's a very beautiful handwriting. And did you draw all this? And he was asking about each thing that was drawn. And then they travel with their small Jagannath deities. So she wanted to show Maharaj Jagannath deities also. He said, Maharaj, I want to show you my deities. Oh, you have them here? Yes. So she travels with them in a little box. And she took out the box and showed it to Maharaj. And he was looking at them so carefully. Oh, there is this little small Sudarshan, and look at the crown. And she was so happy that he was taking so much interest in looking at her deities. And then after some time, then he looked at the deities and said, they're extremely beautiful, just like you. And she was so happy to hear those little sentences that when he turned around and went, she was in tears as if, will not see him forever, or he's going away, or why he's going. So just a few things he does that even a little child's heart is completely captivated.
Before I forget, I would like to request all the devotees who have turned their videos off, if you don't mind, I would like to share a beautiful recent remark by our spiritual master when he was giving an online darshan. He said, Krishna is non-different from his name, but you all are not. So if you can kindly turn on your video so I can see you all. So he is right here. He is here with us. He is in these beautiful memories. So thank you all very much for showing us your effulgent faces. Talking about, again, the same theme of personal touch, how he has this wonderful quality of making everything so special. When my son was born on June 19th, 2009, he was traveling, he was in US, and he was somewhere in New York. And it was very difficult to catch him because he was traveling and we didn't know where exactly he was. So we somehow got to communicate with him after 8 to 10 days. And then I was able to talk to him on the phone. And I informed him the good news. And he said, this is wonderful news, Swarup Damodar. I'm very happy for you. Congratulations. And so much love, so much love and affection. And I was mentioning, and first of all, he asked, so how is Siddheshwari and the baby doing? And I informed him that they are both doing very well. And then I said that Maharaj, Siddheshwari had to undergo a C-section because the doctors had informed that the baby was quite big in size. Giridhari was 9.5 pounds, so it was quite big. She had gestational diabetes, so that's why he was a big baby. So that's why the doctors had said that a normal delivery would not be possible, would not be safe. So Maharaj, in that 2-minute conversation also, he gave such wisdom. He said, whatever happens in the life of devotees is normal. Right? So although from the medical perspective, we may say it wasn't a normal delivery or whatever, but here is from the perspective of a transcendentalist. Everything that happens in a devotee's life is actually normal because that is Krishna's will. And then he moved on to in the conversation, he said that, okay, so what should I name your son? Do you have any particular letter or any particular name you would like me to? And I said, no, Maharaj. I want you to choose the name for my son. So then he started thinking, let me pray. So that was his first remark, let me pray. So there was a 7 seconds pause on the phone call. And then he came back and he said, how about naming your son after a wonderful pastime of Krishna, which is very dear to me, and also in a person who I have named, who is also very dear to me, is sitting right next to me. His name is Radha Giridhari Prabhu. So let me name your son Giridhari. And I was so happy to hear this wonderful mercy. And how sweetly he connected it. And then he said, Radha Giridhari Prabhu can be the godfather of your son. So I hope my son can, follow in his footsteps and try to please his godfather. So that was one incident that he was very special and very merciful as regards to naming. And then when my daughter was born, again the same thing. I had called him. I was in Bangalore actually. My daughter was born in Bangalore, so she's a Bangaloreite from wherever you all are. And I called Maharaj and said that, Maharaj, we have a daughter now. So he was very happy. And again, he expressed his love and concern. And then I requested him to name my daughter. And he said, I would like to name your daughter Lalita, who is a female form of Swarup Damodar. So that was very sweet, very special, that he named her in such a sweet and special way.
when my brother was getting initiated, so his name is Manoj, and when he came forward for initiation, Govind Prabhu was sitting there, and he mentioned that Maharaj, he's Swarup Damodar Prabhu's brother-in-law. So he said, brother-in-law, then you must receive the name of a brother-in-law. And he thought for maybe 30 seconds, and he said, so your name will be Gopinath Acharya Das, who's the brother-in-law of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. So how is such good with names and connects so well?
One of the most amazing qualities of our dear Gurudev is his unbounded love for Srila Prabhupada. And you all have witnessed it in so many ways, the way he describes the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, the way he narrates the pastimes of Krishna consciousness, of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya, of Prabhupada, the gratitude, the absorption is just unparalleled. I was recalling some incidents of how much love he has for Srila Prabhupada. There was this personality, Ananta Singhania. He's a famous industrialist. He had come to our temple, Radha Gopinath temple, a few years ago. And when he came, Maharaj received him with so much love and respect. He came down and he hugged him tightly. And then he said something which surprised all the brahmacharis. He said that, I'm so grateful to you, Mr. Singhania. And he was also wondering, what? I mean, what did I do? I haven't done anything. And then he described that many, many years ago, when my Guru Maharaj, when Srila Prabhupada was planning to go to the West, your grandfather, Padampat Singhania, had written a letter to my spiritual master that Srila Prabhupada, you go to the West, I will send you funds to start temples. And Prabhupada was very happy to receive this letter. Now, unfortunately, because of the foreign exchange regulations, the funds could not really reach Prabhupada. But there is a mention by Prabhupada in his memories that he had received such a letter from Mr. Padampat Singhania. And decades later, when a descendant of the Singhanias had come to us, Radhanath Maharaj remembered that. See, this is the quality of a pure Vaishnava. They are not forgetful at all. And what a phenomenal memory Radhanath Maharaj has. Please read the Journey Home book. I mean, we are shocked. When I read the Journey Home book for the first time, I thought, we had heard some of the pastimes here and there from Maharaj, not in such details. What amazing memory Maharaj has. And the way he has written that book with such classic details, such a beautiful way. It's just a masterpiece of literature. There's a very sweet story about that also. One time, Gaurang Prabhu and others, they had told Maharaj to give a prerna class. And they wanted Maharaj to speak about the Journey Home book. But Maharaj was hesitant. This was his nature. And unless it was really needed, he did not like to speak. In fact, for 40 years, he did not share this with anyone. It was only when the earnest request from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, who held Maharaj's hand and said, this is my heart's request. I am on my deathbed and I want you to please write an autobiography. That's when he decided. Otherwise, my dear devotees, we would have never heard this wonderful story of Radhanath Maharaj's journey home. So this was his heart. He never wanted to share anything about him, publicly like that. So in this particular program, they said Dr. Maharaj gave a wonderful talk. It was a prerna lecture, and then Maharaj did not touch. They had requested before the class that Maharaj, your book has come out, if you would like to speak a little bit on the journey home, and Maharaj did not touch. And then Gaurang Prabhu thought that let me somehow get the topic in. So he had told some of the devotees to ask some questions. So out of the blue, one devotee who had been trained by the brahmachari said, "Oh, Maharaj, what do you think about the Naga Babas?" And there was no discussion of Naga Babas at all in the class. And Maharaj, without touching the journey home book, he just described everything about Naga Babas and said, next question, anyone has any other question? So the next question was, Maharaj, what inspiration do you take from Ganga? So Maharaj just glorified Ganga Devi without touching the journey home book. And of course, he's so intelligent. He knows that all this has been plotted by these Gauranga Prabhu and everybody. And he did not touch it. He did not speak about it. And then later on, after the program was over, everybody went. Then we had our locker. The brahmachari had a locker meeting. And Maharaj smiled and he called Gaurang Prabhu and said, Gaurang Prabhu, I would sincerely like to beg forgiveness that I did not follow your instruction today and I did not speak about the journey home book. Now look at this. He is such a loving person. He's just, an embodiment of pure love. And he's showering, and Maharaj and Gaurang Prabhu was just melting. He said, no, Maharaj, it's your wish. But then he shared so much about the journey home book. And then eventually he said something really important, which all of us should properly meditate upon. He said, although, because in those days there were some discussions, some talks going around that why is Maharaj talking about his own life like that and this and that. He said, the journey home book is nothing but glorification of Srila Prabhupada. And it is actually, if you read it properly, you'll understand the whole description is to bring it to the scene where he comes to Vrindavan. He meets so many different transcendentalists and sadhus and babas, but he only surrenders to Srila Prabhupada. And then so beautifully he describes the Vrindavan episode also. So this is Maharaj's heart. His love for Srila Prabhupada is unparalleled. And this is what, as his disciples, we should humbly beg that, Maharaj, can we get one drop of that love that you have for Srila Prabhupada, that we can also have the same love for you. Many of you must have heard about this, that a few years ago in 2016, it was the 50 years of ISKCON celebration in Calcutta. In that particular grand festival, there was an episode where on the final day, Maharaj called the organizers and he said that we should also invite Prabhupada's son. We are here in Calcutta, and he should also be in panel and he should be speaking. So all the other devotees, they said, no, Maharaj, there are so many celebrities and so many senior personalities who are going to speak, and I don't think that we can fit into another talk. And he said, please give him my slot. I don't want to speak, but I would like to hear from Vrindavan Day, Prabhupada's son. And then immediately the devotees organized that. They contacted him and requested him. And on the request of Radhanath Maharaj, he definitely came. Now I would like to just flash back and tell you another story with Shriman Vrindavan De Prabhupada's son, who had once, many years ago when I was living as a brahmachari in Radha Gopinath temple, he had visited us. And how sweetly Maharaj welcomed him, showered so much love. Prabhupada's son. Like for Maharaj, it was Srila Prabhupada here. It's Prabhupada's son. He wanted everything perfectly arranged, and with so much love and affection, he was treating him. He took him to his room. He served him nice Bengali prasad. And just see the heart of our beloved father, that he is in the middle of all this, he's serving this very special guest and all. After the prasadam is over and everything, and he's sitting with Vrindavan Day, he takes out a photo frame, a lamination, which is a lamination of a sketch done of Srila Prabhupada, and he gives that to Sriman Vrindavan, and he says, "I would like to give you this handmade pencil sketch of Srila Prabhupada," and then he points towards me and said, "He has drawn it." And then Mr. Vrindavan, he looks at me and he smiles and he says, "Thank you very much." So I was so touched with this gesture that who am I? I'm just an insignificant brahmachari, And I just gifted Maharaj a sketch that I had drawn of His Divine Grace, and just see how he has reciprocated to that love. So this is his unique quality, that he can do amazing things simultaneously. So getting back to that, the story of the Calcutta function, he chose not to speak, and then Mr. Vrindavan, he came on the mic and he gave a nice talk, and then so many other celebrities came, and Radhanath Maharaj did not speak, and we were all feeling so bad. Maharaj did not speak, such an important festival. Then Kiran Bedi was called on the mic. All of you must have heard that very amazing talk that Kiran Bedi spoke only about Radhanath Maharaj. This was a grand festival for Srila Prabhupada, and Maharaj was like, he was sitting like this. He did not want this, but that was Krishna's plan. That was Krishna's plan. He wanted his pure devotee to be glorified. So this is how Maharaj's heart is. I would like to share a very personal exchange in this regard about Maharaj's deep love and his unflinching dedication to the instruction, to the order of his spiritual master. This was many years ago, during the Vyas Puja days, when we used to have his Vyas Puja. We were sitting and doing all the planning. Just see his whole mood in relation to the Vyas Puja. So we are discussing and showing him, Maharaj, which picture should we put it on the front, and how should we design it? And he's just finish it off. That's how his mood was, And then we Krishna Chandra Prabhu and everybody, we were sitting there and we were asking, Maharaj, what should we do? He said, I really tell you honestly, I think you all should just forget about the Vyas Puja itself. If you really want to please me, do that. But then, no, Maharaj, how can we do that? And he would start smiling and laughing. And it was such an austerity for him. And we all know that. But he would come and he would sit for so many hours. And not that he was not interested. I mean, when he would hear the pastime, he would hear his own glories, he would hear the love pouring out from the hearts of all devotees. He had tears in his eyes. He was very sweet and personal. Now, that night, after the Vyas Puja ceremony was over, everything was done, it was me and Govinda Prabhu and I think one more brahmachari. We were sitting in Maharaj's room till late in the night. Maharaj was just reflecting, talking, And he was sharing something very personal. And with his permission, I would like to share with all of you. He was telling that what kind of agony Maharaj had to endure in Srila Prabhupada's service in the New Vrindavan days. Now, to cut the story short, I would just like to briefly explain that New Vrindavan had gone through a lot of controversies. After Prabhupada left, there were so many deviations and the leader had fallen down. So many things happened. So Prabhupada had given a personal instruction, a direct instruction to His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. What was the instruction? Serve Kirtanananda Swami till your last breath. This was a very emphatic and very, bold instruction. For Maharaj to receive an direct instruction, that was like Brahma Vakya, and he would never not do it. But after Prabhupada left, there were so many things happening which were piercing Maharaj's heart. This was not what Prabhupada wanted. So many things that were happening was completely against Prabhupada's will. But here he had this instruction which he was holding on to. And it wasn't easy for him. It was very difficult. And for 8 years, Maharaj was telling us that he was praying to Srila Prabhupada that what should I do, Prabhupada? What am I supposed to do now? You are not on the planet for me to directly ask you. And I am now in a predicament where there are so many things happening. There are people who are criticizing me left and right, and there's so much going on here. How do I fulfill your decision like this, your instruction like this? And then Maharaj had some tears in his eyes, and he said, after 8 years, one night, I had a dream, and I saw my Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, in that dream. And Prabhupada was very grave. And Prabhupada said, it is now time for you to leave New Vrindavan. And as soon as he saw this instruction by His divine grace in the dream, the very next morning, without saying a word to anyone, Maharaj disappeared. And trust me, devotees, he was holding a very senior position. But it was too much for him. He was only facing all that, he was only enduring all that because his Guru Maharaj had given him this instruction. So just see the dedication that he had to Srila Prabhupada's words. It is not easy. I mean, we all are into Krishna consciousness and we have tips, with devotees, and we don't want to talk to them, and we want to change our service, we want to go to some other place, we want to run away, we want to change. So many things happen. But this is not the heart of Radhanath Maharaj. He would go to any extent. I mean, his forbearance levels are just unbelievable. Once he was very, very sick. He was so sick in Radha Gopinath temple. We used to see him. Many of the devotees who would come for the Sunday feast program, they would only see him roaring like a lion, preaching Krishna consciousness on the Vyasasana. But many of you would have no idea how sick physically he was just a few minutes before. When he's in the room, we had to sometimes even hold him. He was that weak. And he would not listen. We would plead. Madhavanand Prabhu, Swarup Prabhu, Dwarkadish Prabhu would plead that Maharaj, someone else can give the class today. You're not well. Can you please take rest today? But Maharaj said, no, the devotees are coming from so far. And this is the only day they get to see their spiritual master. I must Go and serve. That is my service. So one such Sunday feast program, he was so weak. There was so much nausea, and he was really not able to. But then still he came, and to everyone's amazement, the doctors and all who knew about his condition, he gave a 2-hour lecture with such enthusiasm. No one could say that he was sick. And then after the program, he came back and he lied down. Madhavanand Prabhu was next to him. He said, Maharaj, you are just simply amazing. As a doctor, I can say that no one can do what you are doing in such a physically ailing situation. How can you do this? And Maharaj looked at Madhavanand Prabhu and he said that even if Krishna has decided this nausea for the rest of my life, still my service to Srila Prabhupada will not change. Just see, this is called determination, Dridhavrata. This is how strong-willed he is. Another time in Vrindavan Yatra, he was running, he was coming to Radharaman temple to give a talk, and he was a little late. So in those days, it was not such a grand yatra. There was like about 400-500, less than that, devotees. And he was coming, he was rushing, and it was a little dark, and his foot got into a puddle, and he slipped, and he fell down because he was hurriedly rushing to the program. And it was some water there, and the water splashed on his dress, and he immediately ran back to the room. And he was in terrible pain. His foot had a hairline fracture. He ran to the room. He took a shower, cleaned himself, changed his clothes, came back to the program, sat for 3 hours, and gave a wonderful talk. And everybody was in ecstasy hearing the glories of Lord Krishna. And no one had an idea that Maharaj was in so much excruciating pain in his foot. This is his forbearance levels. You would like to share something in relation?
Yes, there was a similar thing happened in Pune, where he was giving, I think, Srimad Bhagavatam class, and one Mataji had prepared a garland for him, but one devotee was in a rush to put him a garland. He really, really wanted to put him a garland. And so there was one Maha garland hanging nearby on the nail. So he picked up that Maha garland and put it on Maharaj. And then Maharaj gave a 2-hour long class. And everybody, as usual, was very ecstatic to hear such a wonderful class. And nobody even realized what Maharaj was going through. Later on, as soon as he finished the class, he rushed to his room and he called his servants there immediately and closed the door. Servants were inside and everybody didn't know what was happening. Everybody was wondering. And later on, when the servants came out, they were so angry at some of the people who were organizing. So what happened? What happened? They said the garland Maharaj was wearing was full of red ants. And although he had taken the garland off, the ants had spread all over his body, to the back, to the front. And all these 2 hours, these red ants were actually biting him. So when he went to the room, he removed his chadar and he showed his back to the personal servants, his back. It was full of red bumps. And imagine his tolerance level. He did not immediately express this. He could have immediately rushed to the room, but he had already started the class. And so he sat there 2 hours preaching the glories. without expressing anything at all. So that's one incidence we saw his forbearance level. And another one we saw when we went with him to Kolhapur once. And there we had a series of programs in Kolhapur, Belgaum, Satara Maharaj had. And so we were going to travel from one place to another like that. But in Kolhapur, in the last day when they were going to leave Kolhapur, Maharaj suddenly had an asthmatic attack. And so in the morning, they informed us that he was going to give Srimad Bhagavatam class, but now since he's not feeling well and severely sick, so maybe we will cancel the whole trip, next Belgaum Satara trip, and we will go back to Bombay. So we were all asked, we were maybe about 20 of us with him. And so we were all asked to pack up our bags and be ready. And then whatever Maharaj says. So we were waiting outside the room where he was going to give Srimad Bhagavatam class, and everybody's bags were lined up. And then Maharaj came there. We paid our danvas. He was really grave. And he said, "Why are you all packed up? Where are you all going?" So somebody said, "Maharaj, they informed us that you were very sick, and so the rest of the trip would be cancelled." And so we were asked to pack up our bags to travel back to Bombay. He said, "Who said that? I did not say that. Come inside for the Bhagavatam class." And so we all were so scared. And quickly we went inside and sat in the Bhagavatam class. And initially he started with a very faint voice because he was really sick. And we could barely hear what he was saying. So we were trying to move closer to hear. And as the lecture progressed, the volume kept increasing and his enthusiasm kept increasing. And towards the end of the lecture, he was roaring like a lion, like so enthusiastically preaching. We could not believe that this is the person they said is severely sick. And so enthusiastic, and he had a kirtan, and then everybody suddenly came out of that very grave and sad mood, and everybody was so happy. And then he said, "Nobody's going anywhere. We move on to the next program." So it was almost like the preaching and just speaking Krishna Katha was almost like a medicine for him, and it was giving him all that spiritual energy and strength to continue forward.
So how long we have to go on? Another half an hour?
As much as you want to.
Because
Would like to.
Maharaj, how much time do we have?
As much as you would like to.
Talking about Maharaj's very loving and understanding nature, I wanted to share some very sweet pastimes. How he has this amazing ability to change the mood of a situation. We had the first Rath Yatra in Dadar. I'm sure many of you would have attended that Rath Yatra. Many years ago, it was in the late 90s. We had the first Rath Yatra. Earlier to that, only the Juhu temple used to have the Rath Yatra, and our temple would not. We would just go and participate. But then our congregation grew, and then we all devotees said we should also have a Rath Yatra. So that was our first Jagannath Rath Yatra. And all the grand arrangements were made, and beautiful chariots and decorations and prasadam, and so many devotees and so many people, hundreds and thousands of people came and attended the Rath Yatra. Now it so happened that because it was the first time, devotees were not very experienced, so they fell short of prasadam. The prasadam was over, and they had not cooked for so many, and so many people came. So they, after the program was over, they used to have a follow-up meeting and feedback and understand what went wrong. And so in those days, Radhanath Maharaj personally come and sit with us, with all the devotees. he would share, give his own thoughts, and give his feedback also. So devotees were saying, Maharaj, everything went well, but Maharaj, we probably made many people unhappy because we had advertised sumptuous feast. But Maharaj, so Maharaj just smiled and he said, it's all right. This was Krishna's will. All you have to do is, from the word sumptuous, remove chuas. It is some prasadam. Everybody got some prasadam. And everybody just, broke into laughter. That how he has this ability, everybody was like in a very serious discussion. And he said, just remove chuas, make it some. Krishna wanted some prasadam for everyone, because that's what they did. Like, instead of sumptuous prasadam, everybody got like a little bowl of halwa towards the end, and nobody got full plate of prasadam. Maharaj used to tell us that whenever I go to Chicago, I really like to spend time with my father. And he said, do you know why? He said, he is the only person in the whole world who can tell me, you shut up, I will talk. Everywhere I go, Maharaj, would you like to give a class? Maharaj, what should we do about this? Everyone is wanting me to talk. But I just love to be with my father. And he talks of everything under the sun. He said, I get all my information of what is happening in the world from my father. All current affairs and who is the president and what's going on in the world, everything he will tell me. And I just have to patiently hear. Now just see, this is such a loving reciprocation. And he would do it from his heart. He would love to be there and listen to his father. That's how he was. Another time, he was invited for a function, and it happened to be Starbucks coffee. It was a big Starbucks coffee outlet was being inaugurated, and they invited Radhanath Swami for that. Now Maharaj went with one or two brahmacharis, because some, famous people had invited him, so he could not refuse. So he cut the ribbon, he inaugurated the Starbucks coffee. And then when he was sitting inside, the CEO of Starbucks was sitting next to Maharaj and says, so Swamiji, which flavor do you really like? Now, someone may expect that Maharaj will say, oh, we are Hare Krishnas, we don't drink coffee and all that, right? That was what we would. Maharaj said, actually, I am on a particular fast today, because of which I'm not having any coffee. So they were actually going to serve Maharaj, because that's what their intention was. Which flavor do you want? We'll get that. So I am actually a little bit, I'm fasting today, so I'm not going to have any coffee. But I can tell you that the next time I have coffee, I'm definitely going to try your Starbucks coffee. Right? And the brahmacharis were smiling. And they said that, see, this is how a preacher should be. That he has gone into a gathering where the people have shown their love and respect. He should not bypass that, and he should not ignore that and just give the hammer that, hey, we follow 4 regulative principles. A similar thing happened with Srila Prabhupada also. Once he was visiting some life members in Mumbai, and the life member was a big industrialist, and there were a few other devotees with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was seated, and they got some pakoras and tea. And they served tea to all the devotees and to Srila Prabhupada. And everybody is wondering, what is Prabhupada going to do now? Prabhupada just picked up and started drinking the tea. And everybody drank. That does not mean that Prabhupada had set the standard that, okay, from today onwards you can start drinking tea. But according to the time, place, and circumstances, Prabhupada wanted to teach that, sometimes for the sake of preaching, if there is a slight deviation, only an acharya has the right to do that. So that was something very sweet about Maharaj. I would like to share another beautiful story which really touched my heart, and I love to share this. This is again showing Maharaj's loving heart, his gratitude. And it is the same gratitude towards Srila Prabhupada which we see manifesting in his personality, in his words, in his actions, the way he does anything for Srila Prabhupada. Even the tiniest service for Srila Prabhupada is so special and very important for him. Well, I'll come to the main pastime. Before that, I would like to tell you this, that once when Radha Gopinath temple was having some renovations, there was a decade of renovations in Radha Gopinath, and everything was renovated. So it came to the point where we renovated the altars, the beautiful altars, the golden plating, leafing, and all that came. So before we had gold painted altars, if you all remember, in the very olden days, the first altars were oil painted with golden, but they were a little low in height. If you check some old pictures, you will see that Gopinath's head did not have any headroom like above him. It was almost touching his head. So Maharaj is standing there, and I was also standing there. So I said, Maharaj, can I make a small suggestion? So he said, yes. And I said, Maharaj, these altars, we go and decorate the deities, so we very literally feel it also. And also, when you see from far, we can make out that there is not much room about Gopinath's head. So is there any way we can raise the height of the altars? So Maharaj started looking, that's a good point. He started doing like that. And then he immediately called, the carpenters who were carving in the they were there only, and they called him and they said that, is this possible? He said, yes, we can make blocks like this big blocks, and we put under all the pillars, and then the whole altar will raise. So that's a wonderful idea. And Maharaj hugged me for that and said, thank you. It was really nice. And every time I go to Radha Gopinath temple, I definitely take darshan of the blocks also, because there's a sweet, loving exchange hidden there. So, this is how he is. So I was telling you the story that once Radhanath Maharaj's father, Mr. Jerry Slevin, had visited Mumbai, and he was with us there. And he was staying in Krishna Chandra Prabhu's house. And there was a very special program organized. And Maharaj was going to meet his father, spend some time with him. And there was a small get-together of some devotees. And then there was one brahmachari whose name is Shyam Charan Prabhu. His mother was in her final moments. And Maharaj had been hearing about her. So he asked, how is your mother doing? And he said that, Maharaj, the doctors have said that she may not survive for more than 6 to 8 hours. So Maharaj at that point cancelled the program with his own father. And there were some other senior personalities who were going to come. And he called all of them and said that I am very sorry, but I would like to go and see this Mataji. Now here's a world Acharya having so many important things. His own father has flown all the way from America to be with him. But his heart, his loving fatherly heart, wanted that his son who had given his life, although Shyam Charan had not even requested, not even mentioned that Maharaj, he just, he felt in his heart probably, and he said that I would like to go with you to see your mother. he drove 2 hours in the traffic of Mumbai to Sham Charan Prabhu's house, and he went there and he met his mother. And this Mataji was, half unconscious. She could make out that yes, someone has come. And as Maharaj sat near her, she held Maharaj's hand tightly, like this. And Maharaj, with so much love and compassion in his heart, he started chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now, my dear devotees, you must be thinking that must have happened for a few minutes and then Maharaj would have taken leave. 45 minutes, Maharaj chanted the holy name. Only chanted, didn't say anything. And that Mataji was holding Maharaj's hand tightly. And after 45 minutes, Maharaj thought that maybe now, she should take some rest. And Maharaj tried to loosen his grip a little bit. And she again tightly grasped Maharaj's hand and did not let go of Maharaj's hand. 1 more hour without saying anything to anybody, Radhanath Maharaj gave that particular jiva the special causeless mercy of chanting the holy names to her. So almost 1 hour and 45 minutes, Maharaj spent his valuable time with her. He probably didn't even know her name, but he only knew this, that she had given her son in service of Srila Prabhupada. And how can I not reciprocate? And then his son only requested that, Maharaj, it's very late, there are so many other devotees who are waiting. And then Maharaj left. And then it so happened that same night she passed away. And before she left her body, she was in consciousness and she was talking a little bit to her son. And she somehow conveyed this to her son, that I wish the person who held my hand for so long could come and immerse my ashes in the holy river. Now, this was not communicated to Radhanath Maharaj. She left her body. In a few days, her ashes were taken to Mayapur. And it so happened that Maharaj also had gone to Mayapur. And then when Maharaj again saw Shamcharan, he spoke to him and he asked, and he said that, yes, Maharaj, my mother left her body that same night when we met her. And then Maharaj said, so you have come to do the final rites, put her ashes in the Ganga. Yes. So then Maharaj immediately called Pankajangri Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu and said that, could I take a break for the GBC meetings? I'll join in the second session after the lunch. And Maharaj told Shamcharan that I would like to come to the Ganga when you are immersing. And he could not believe this. And then the last wish of this wonderful mother, which was heard by Radhanath Maharaj in the core of his heart, was fulfilled. He immersed her ashes in the Ganga. So, when it comes to, pastimes of a great soul like this, these are all with divine intervention. They are not ordinary actions. You can share that particular story.
So there is another pastime I can remember. about how he can go to great extents in order to help someone in their Krishna consciousness. This was narrated to me by one of Maharaj's god sisters. So she was explaining that she and one other Mataji and two other people, four of them, used to go with Maharaj for college preaching in New Vrindavan days when he used to go to neighboring cities for college preaching. So there these Matajis used to talk to the ladies or the girls there, and the two other Prabhujis would talk to boys, and Maharaj used to take cooking classes in colleges. So these after the program, these devotees used to talk. So several years these programs were happening, and these devotees were helping Maharaj in these programs. Then Maharaj started traveling to India for preaching. So for many days, months, he would be in India. Then he used to come back. So one such time he came back, and he did not see this Mataji anywhere in the temple in all the programs, one who used to help in these preaching programs. So he didn't see her anywhere. Some days he thought she might have gone somewhere, but months went by and he never saw this Mataji. And it was very obvious in those days because in New Vrindavan, most of the devotees used to stay very close to the temple. So it was not that somebody had gone somewhere else. Mostly everybody would be around the temple. So one day or the other, they would see the person. And she was not seen for months. So Maharaj was wondering, where did she go? So he asked the other Mataji, who was her friend, that what happened to this Mataji? Where did she go? So they said she left and went. So left and went where? What happened? So they said that she had she didn't have a good marriage, and the things did not go very smooth, and the person left her and went away, cheated her, and she went through great difficulty after that financially, and also some difficulties from the devotees. So she was really suffering, and people were blaming her for the divorce and separation, and so she felt uh, hurt, and then she kind of left. So Maharaj was really sad to hear about this because she used to do a lot of wonderful service in the temple, and she had helped so much in the preaching. So Maharaj asked, where did she go? So they said this someplace in US. So after a few months, Maharaj had a preaching program in that city. So Maharaj asked her friends for her address, and along with two other devotees, he went there to see her. And then he met her, and she was so happy to see Maharaj come to visit her. No, not much devotees were coming to visit her. She was feeling very lonely, and she was actually missing all her services and the devotees there, but still wasn't able to go back. She was so happy to see Maharaj come there. And Maharaj asked her what happened and everything. So she was crying and narrating everything to Maharaj. And so Maharaj, after that incident, for many months after that, whenever Maharaj would go for preaching in that area, he would, along with the devotees, go there, spend time with her, listen patiently to whatever grievances she had. And then he would try to inspire her in various ways, saying that Prabhupada is really grateful for your service, and he loves you, and he needs you back, and he's missing you, and you must come back. And there is so much wonderful service you have done. I'm so very grateful to you. All your Mataji friends are missing you. Deities are missing you. So please come back. Like this, he would talk to her for hours. I mean, he was a world preacher and so many preaching engagements, but he was going out of his way to help this devotee who was in a very difficult time. And she said that he didn't really have to do it. out of 500,000 devotees, if one devotee is not there, what difference it makes to the temple or the services? But the way he was presenting to her that she was so important for the services, how the deities were missing her, and without her, how the services were not going as good as they were when she was there, and expressing gratefulness for all the help she did during the preaching. So she said, because of him and because of his continuous um, inspiration and because of his taking interest in my difficulties and the desire to help one very insignificant devotee, just to see that how much love this person had for Srila Prabhupada, that for Srila Prabhupada he didn't mind going out of the way to help one insignificant god sister. Nobody in New Vrindavan was actually, according to her, bothering so much ki if she went, she went. But he was coming again and again whenever he would come to that city for preaching. He was coming again and again to help her so much. And he said, it is because of this concern that he showed and the way he was trying to help me that I felt like coming back. And then he used to go back to New Vrindavan and tell the Mataji's friends that you be in touch with her, you keep inspiring her, you somehow bring her back. So with their help and with Maharaj's help, Mataji started coming back, again started getting involved in services. And when we were in Alachua, we saw that she was now such a great preacher. She used to give wonderful classes. She was doing Mataji's preaching programs. She was even inspiring girls. She used to do girls program. And she was one of the most dearmost senior disciples there. And Maharaj even arranged for her second marriage. By talking to some senior devotees, he even arranged for another person. He got them to meet, and now they are happily engaged in Krishna consciousness together, very senior devotees and very happy in their Krishna conscious life. They have a very beautiful, sweet daughter who is also nicely engaged in Krishna consciousness. So if Maharaj had not taken out the time to go out of his way to help this person, she would not have been able to come back and render all the beautiful services that she's doing now. And now she is helping so many others in their difficult times. So just because Maharaj thought, his thoughtfulness, he thought about the person's difficulty and he tried to help her, so much wonderful outcome is there. Also, I wanted to narrate another pastime about his thoughtfulness, that we were going for Mayapur Yatra, and right on the first day of Yatra, I fractured my leg. And Giriraj Prabhu, he saw my leg and he said, Mataji, you'll have to stay in the room. So I said, Prabhu, first day of the Yatra, there are 10 days to go. You're telling me to stay in the room. After so many days, I have come to Mayapur. I have not come here to sit in the room. I cannot sit in the room. You tell me some other solution. So he said, I will put you the bandage and whatever else. I'll tie your leg and you can walk just a little bit. Try not to walk a whole lot. I said, there is Paidal Parikrama going on. How can I not walk? So he said, you figure out, either you don't walk much or you don't go at all, just sit in your room. So first 2 days I walked, and every single place I was the last person to reach the place because I was walking so slow. And then Srinathji Prabhu saw me and he said, what happened? And I said, Prabhu, I have fractured my leg and I'm still wanting to attend the yatra, so I'm trying to walk. So he said, why are you walking? You sit in the car. So I said, no, I don't want to burden you already. Guests would be there in your car and Mataji is there. I said, no, I have space for one person. We are 4 of us, and there is space for just one more person. So you can come. So then Krishna Chandra Prabhu also said that, yes, you must sit. You will aggravate this by walking. So you must sit in the car. So I sat in the car, and that time I realized that fracturing my leg was such a good fortune, because his car would always travel with Maharaj's car, and every place wherever people were going, Maharaj's car would go, and behind his Srinathji Prabhu's car would go, and we were always the first people to reach and wait for the buses, and till then we would get to see Maharaj or whatever he was talking and be part of it. So I said, this is just such a great blessing that I fractured my leg. So one such incident was that we had to go from, I think, Hansvahan. There is a place called Hansvahan, and from there we had to go to Harihar Kshetra. So the cars started on a road, and the road was really, really tiny, because it was in a village, and so it was not a properly made road.
Yeah.
Very narrow, very small, and as the car was going, since the road was so small, the whole car would not fit on the road. So one time it would go like this, then other time like this, then like this. Both cars were going up and down like this. So after some time we went in that road, then Maharaj stopped his car. So we kept sitting in our car. We did not move out. So Maharaj came out. Then one Mayapur devotee was also traveling in that car. So this was initial days where they used to tell some places. So they used to come with us as guides, telling where the place was or which is the easiest way to get there or things like that. So this devotee and Maharaj was discussing something. Then suddenly we realized that there was like an argument going on, a quick discussion, and Maharaj was telling like this, something. So we were wondering what is happening. And we were still kept sitting in our car. All of a sudden, Maharaj turned around and started running very fast on the road. So Srinathji Prabhu thought, what happened? We don't know what happened. Srinathji Prabhu immediately told his driver, turn and run behind Maharaj. And believe me, even though the driver was trying to go as fast as possible, Maharaj was running faster than the car. And Srinathji Prabhu, faster, faster, but don't be close to Maharaj, don't hit Maharaj, but go faster. And the driver kept going faster. Finally, we came ahead of Maharaj. We stopped the car, and Srinathji Prabhu jumped out and, Maharaj, wait, Maharaj, what happened? What happened? And then Maharaj said, Maharaj was so in anxiety. He was like, I am telling this devotee to not let the buses enter this road. Because if 20, 30, 50 buses enter the road one after another, and the way the cars were going up and down, he said if anything happens to one of the buses, they might topple over. The way the road is, it's slanting on both sides, and not even the full car is coming on it. How will a full bus come on it? What happens if one of the bus topples over? What will I say to those 50 devotees? What will I do? And I am telling this devotee to run to the starting of the road and tell the buses not to enter, because once each of them enter behind each other, it will be very difficult for them to move out. So I am telling him, before the first bus enters, reach the starting of the road and tell them not to enter because of the way the road is. And he is explaining to me things, and I don't have the time. And then Maharaj again turned and he said, I am going to tell the buses. So Srinathji Prabhu said, wait, you don't go, we will go. Maharaj said, no, buses will come, buses will. No, wait, I am calling Sanat Kumar Prabhu. You don't go, I am telling Shyamanand Prabhu. But Maharaj was in such a rush that, no, I want to do this, I want to do it right now. And he didn't want to wait. So before his eyes, Srinathji Prabhu called him, and they got connected, and they said, Maharaj wants like this, no buses should enter, the roads are really bad, and Maharaj feels the buses might topple over, and so he doesn't want any of the buses to enter through this way, and we should find another way to go there. And there is another way with better roads, which is a longer route, but Maharaj says we should go from that way. So Sanat Kumar Prabhu said, we already got information that this road was like this. So already buses have started on that other way, and they have already started going from that other side. And so when Srinathji Prabhu told him on speakerphone that this is what Sanat Kumar Prabhu is saying, then only Maharaj's face changed, that he was relieved that, matter is taken care of. And then Srinathji Prabhu said, Maharaj, please sit down. Please sit in the car. Please take some water. And then Maharaj sat, they gave him some water. And then only we started back. We also went that way and started going that route which were the buses was taken. So this is another incident which I saw with my own eyes, how he did not care for anything of his own and just wanted to run to go and help the devotees, and he did not want that anyone should be hurt. And how concerned about each and every single devotee he was, not bothering about his own inconvenience or discomfort, or he himself could have gotten hurt the way he was running on the road, but he didn't care for any of it, just wanted to make sure that devotees were taken care of.
So I think we'll conclude now in a few minutes. On a lighter note, I would just like to share about the transcendental wit, humor of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj.
Would like to hear some kirtan pastimes.
What an expert he is with words.
How you're able to please Maharaj with understanding his mood and so on, if you can also spare some time.
Well, I don't know whether I am able to please, but yeah, he's always tolerant and he accepts me. I would like to share a few other things about his transcendental humor, which is very enchanting. It's very endearing, and it is so unique. It's so unique. This is something very relevant to today's festival. Maharaj was giving a talk once in Vrindavan, and he's described Krishna's pastimes. And it was Diwali day. And as you know, in India, on Diwali day, the way the fireworks are, right? They start off and they go on and on and on and on and on. So here is Radhanath Swami, who is giving a very nectarian Damodar Leela class. And then for a long time, like somewhere very close to the pandal, there were these fireworks going on. So Maharaj paused and he said, it doesn't look like Diwali so much. It looks like the Battle of Sri Lanka going on. I mean, what an appropriate remark. I was once traveling with him in a train, and it was Bombay to Kolhapur. So the name of the train was Mahalakshmi Express. So we were returning from there, and the train just came and just halted at Karjat station. And Maharaj was busy doing his dictation. He was answering his mail and everything. So for quite some time, Maharaj just didn't pay attention. But then obviously the train is now moving for more than 45 minutes. Maharaj looked at me and he said, where are we? So I said, Maharaj, we are at Karjat. Oh, we are still quite far from Bombay. What happened? So I said, Maharaj, it's just probably the train has stopped. So Maharaj looked at me and said, what is the name of this train? So I said, Mahalakshmi Express, Maharaj. Maharaj said, they should change the name. They should make it Mahamaya's Distress. And I was thrilled. Yeah, we should probably go and give them the suggestion, because most trains are like that in India. Once Maharaj one guest came, Maharaj, you are a Siddha Purush. Said, I'm a city Purush, not a Siddha Purush. I keep traveling from city to city. When once Maharaj was with some devotees in Rishikesh, he went to the same rock and he sat there. And all the devotees started taking pictures. Maharaj smiled and said, I have become a rock star. Rock star.
Like
What else?
Mataji lecture.
Anyway, there are so many such. Once Maharaj was traveling in the airport, and one person behind Maharaj said, Maharaj had his danda. So he said, is that a fishing rod? Maharaj said, yes, this is a fishing rod. Like Jesus said, become the fisherman among men. So I am like that. So, I mean, how quickly he can connect to something really divine. That is Maharaj. So I think we are running out of time. I'll just conclude now.
The Kirtan pastor is Balram.
Which Kirtan?
Belgaum. Train pastor. Since Prabhu asked, I remembered a Kirtan pastime. So I thought I will conclude with this one. That we had gone to Belgaum with Maharaj, and Prabhu used to accompany him in various programs, singing along with Maharaj. And so the night we were leaving from Belgaum, we had a train at around 7:45, 8:45 or so. So then before the program, we went to Maharaj and we told him that we will be leaving tonight after your program, and we seek your blessings for the journey and your prayers to, again engage in your service like this. Thanked him, and so he asked, what time is your train? So we said 8:45. So he said, okay, I give my blessings for your journey. Thank you so much for coming and joining us for this tour and this. And so after his class, he started his kirtan. And then he told Prabhu to sing along with him. And he started his kirtan at, I think, around 8:10 or something. 8 o'clock. I think he started 8 o'clock he started. And then he kept playing. He told Prabhu to sing. And we both kept looking at the watch, and he kept looking at the watch. And then he went from one tune to another, then another, and he kept looking at the watch, and he was laughing also in middle and kept telling Prabhu to sing, sing. And then it became 8:15, then 8:20, then 8:25, 8:30, and we were like, 8:45 is the train, we'll never make it. And I think at about 8:35, he suddenly stopped the kirtan. And then he started laughing up and down. Now you can go. And
by
so,
his grace, we did not miss the train. We got the train.
yeah, fortunately, one devotee, he rushed us in his car to the train station.
I would like to share a very important pastime. In conclusion, I know this is the heart of all of us. When we hear these nectarian pastimes, we all, the desire, the greed that should be there, that laulyam to come in his personal association is there, and that should be there. We should always be very eager for the personal association, the Vapu association, also the spiritual master. But we'll be able to really understand and relish the Vapu association also only when we understand the importance of the Vani association. And there was a beautiful incident that shows this. Once one devotee was sharing this in the West, that he had gotten news that Maharaj had told him to be with him in New York and assist him in a particular service. And he was dancing. I'm going to be serving with Radhanath Swami in this project. And like he was just so thrilled. He was so happy. Every day I have to sit with Radhanath Swami for so many hours, and who would not want that? He was delighted. And the service went on for two, 3 months or something, and then Maharaj left. And then next year, Maharaj came, and Maharaj saw that the same devotee was there. And Maharaj asked, how are you? Are you happy? So he said, no, Maharaj, I was more happy last year because I was in personal association with you. So Maharaj just put his hand on his shoulder and said, I can understand that, but I would like to tell you this. Last year, you were serving with me, and you served with me for 2-3 months. Then I left. But now you have the opportunity to serve for me, do something for me. And that you can do for the rest of eternity if you want. So there was a very sweet and important instruction in this, that Guru Maharaj, his position as the world Acharya has now become so important, and he's so much needed now in so many parts of the world, that this is probably what he is definitely asking from his disciples and his aspiring disciples, that I am present in my personal form. In fact, he literally said that to one Mataji, who asked, Mataji, how can I do some personal service to you? Maharaj said, every single word that I speak from the Vyasasana is personal service to me. If you can simply do that I say in my lectures, that is direct personal service to me. So which is very, very true. And this is what we all must look forward to be doing in every single day of our lives. And trust me on this, the spiritual master is not an ordinary soul. He is Sakshad Hari. We sing that every morning. Sakshad Hari Tvena Samasta Shastre. That he is actually the direct representation of Krishna. And he knows the heart of every single disciple. And I will give you a last quick, very sweet and dear memory that happened in 2020 with me and with her. It was January 11th, and I was told by the doctors that I had 100% blockage in my arteries. And everyone was very disturbed. Everyone was very worried. I was scheduled to sing in Radha Gopinath temple that day. So the doctor said that I did not want to miss my service. I said, whatever happens, let me at least, if it is going to be my last kirtan, let it be my last kirtan in Radha Gopinath temple. So I told them that I will go to the temple and then I will rush back to the hospital to do because they said that an immediate surgery has to be done. The angioplasty has to be done. So I said, let me go and I'll come back. So I came to sing in Radha Gopinath temple. And I started singing, and she was also sitting there. And Maharaj was not present at that time. He was not sitting in the kirtan. He came after some time into the kirtan and he sat down. And Siddheshwari was very emotional. Her head was down. She was in tears. She was crying. And Maharaj noticed that. And Maharaj, after my kirtan, he left. I'm between my kirtan actually. He didn't wait. He called Gaurang Prabhu and said, is everything all right with Siddheshwari? What is going on? Why is she so down? And I could see that she was, obviously crying. She was not like nobody could really make her, but the spiritual master, he saw that. And he asked, Gaurang Prabhu was aware of it, and he said everything, that Swarup is going through some medical issues. And so Maharaj, then he was very worried. We sat and prayed. And I was going to go to Maharaj before I went to the hospital. So after I finished my kirtan, I just straightaway went to Maharaj's room. And Maharaj said, Swarup, please come. He hugged me very tightly. And he put a Narsimha Kavach around my neck. and he gave me some Radha Gopinath Prasad, and he said, nothing will happen. You are protected by Radha Gopinath mercy. And then I went, and everything went very smoothly. And within a few hours, and through 2-3 days, I was back. So,
He sent
how much?
Gaurang Prabhu.
Yeah, and Gaurang Prabhu, he specially told Gaurang Prabhu to make sure that in all the payments and everything were taken care by Radha Gopinath temple. He said, don't worry about anything, because it was all done in such an emergency. And then, of course, we reimbursed that at the temple later on. But everything was so taken care, such love, such attention, so much of concern.
They sat through the whole surgery. The
Gaurang Prabhu was there throughout the surgery, and he kept coming. So many other brahmacharis kept coming. What he has given us in the form of the association of devotees, as he said in his own words, is the highest gift. It's the greatest gift. He said 3 things. Please remember these 3 things. We have the highest philosophy, we have the best association, and we have the greatest shelter. Be grateful and you will realize it. So, unless we are grateful, all these gifts will remain around us, but we won't understand the importance. And we have indeed, in Radhanath Maharaj's words, in his lectures, in his preaching, the best philosophy of Krishna consciousness that we can ever hear, we hear in his lectures. The sweetest association that we can ever think of, can ever imagine, is in the association of our beloved Gurudev. And the most ultimate shelter that he has made available to all of us in the form of Shri Radha Gopinath, Radha Vrindavan Bihari, Radha Madan Mohan, and all the other satellite centers where his devotees are preaching. This is the ultimate gift.
And his disciples, they are also our greatest shelter.
Association, that's what I was saying. So, with those words, I think we have gone over time now, so we will beg forgiveness from all of you for delaying it a little bit. And from the core of my heart, and we both would like to sincerely express our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for taking out your time and being with us here and giving us this chance to purify our hearts and do some little service to please all of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Kumari Daya. Please forgive if any offenses are there.
No, Mataji, thank
Knowingly
you.
or knowingly we must have made towards Maharaj or towards all of you. Please forgive.
Thank you is a very small word. I know what Mahalakshmi Mataji told in the beginning. Fill our hearts with nectar. Yeah, it was really for us. And so many instructions for us to imbibe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. We offer our sincerest prayers for the good health and the well-being of all of you. You all are very, very special, very dear to us. Yes, Venkat Govind Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, we are really thankful to you for sharing all your experiences, nice experiences, which will be our inspiration throughout our life. And just to recap, some of the things which you've said, which are really impressive, are service is the way to express love. That's what Mataji told, which is very, very important for us, And also the details to attention, which is very characteristic of Maharaj, attention to details, sorry. And also you mentioned, Prabhuji, the best philosophy, best association, and best shelter that will be engraved in our hearts forever, because you have made it very, very clear, in bold letters, and we have to be grateful to realize this, the best shelter. And you also mentioned, Prabhuji, very nicely about the attitude of gratitude, because there is a lot of things which we can learn from his behavior, like the gratitude, which is very, very important, which we have to inculcate. And and especially the love for Prabhupada, which even in his talks, whenever it comes to talking about Prabhupada, there is a special smile on his face, which I think all of us must have seen. So you also mentioned it very emphatically, so very, very nice. And you mentioned at the end the amazing ability to change the mood of the situation, which is really inspiring. So I would like to say something about you, Prabhu, actually, because we have seen many times in Pune Yatra, when Maharaj is singing, and he is tired, then simply devotees will push you in front, and then you will start singing, and then we will not realize that you have started singing. It was like we think that it is Maharaj only who is singing, but after maybe 10-15 minutes, we see Maharaj, but the singing is going on. So then only we come to know that you are singing. So it's so nice, Prabhu, and pardon me.
Parrot, I'm saying.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your kirtans, Prabhuji.
Thank you for your kirtans, and on behalf of all the devotees from Bangalore, it is my great fortune to thank you for sparing your valuable time to to attend this session and share your nectar with all of us. Thank you very much, Prabhu, once again, and hoping to see you again on a similar occasion in future.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mahalakshmi. Thank you, Kumari. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
Maharaj, Prabhuji, can we have darshan of Giridhari and Lalita?
Here is Lalita.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Evil.
Very good.
Many of you probably seeing them after a long time.
Yes.
Yes. She was a small.
Even with you singing in the kirtans in Facebook.
Yes, in Facebook now you see.
Giridhari is feeling very sleepy. Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bless you all. Here we go.
Thank you, Mahalakshmi Mataji. Thank you, Kumaradeva Mataji, Venkat Govind Prabhu, for facilitating this nice program.
Thank you for organizing such a wonderful occasion. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
There are no words for you. There are no words to express.
Hare Krishna.
Full of nectar.